I literally want to go back to the time where I was like 10 and 12, where nothing was a problem and everything was fun. And I'm all about that sort of color retail therapy where you literally put on something and it brightens your day. I want it to. It's funny, I structurally even design with things surrounding your face. So like I'm all about the embroidery. I'm all about the texturing. I want you to frame your face.
Hello and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Formosa, the founder of Fashion Equipped and devourer of all things fashion, business and mindset. In this podcast, I'm speaking with thought leaders, change makers and entrepreneurs about the business side of fashion and everything in between. Fashion Business Mindset is your front row seat to real stories from designers, brands, entrepreneurs, makers and mentors. We'll discuss how to launch and grow a fashion business and give you insider access to the future of fashion. So let's do this together and ensure that you're equipped to make the fashion business your business. Rebecca, welcome to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast.
Elizabeth, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me.
That's
now,
all right.
Rebecca, 23 years you've been in business. But before we dive into your amazing business as it stands today, can you wind back the clock a little bit and tell us about yourself and some insights into your journey before you launched your namesake label?
Okay, well, it's a weird one asking me when I turn 50 next month. So I feel like I was born to be a fashion designer. I actually knew from the time I was 5 that I was going to do this. So it's been a long, long time. But normal family, both my folks both had their own businesses and were quite inspiring. And didn't realize that I actually had quite a bit of rag trade blood in the history. So my grandmother came from England and owned a factory that made needles for sewing machines. And my other side of my family, my dad's side, my grandmother was a dressmaker and just was a beautiful tailor. Amazing. So that was always in my blood. My mum was arty and loved pottery, but not really into fashion. But my mum's sister definitely made all my clothes. I used to design clothes when I was younger for the formals at school, and she would make them. So I've been, basically, I was on the trial to, get there. I was always going to do it.
Amazing. Okay, age of 5, what happened? What happened?
Okay.
How did this manifest at the age of 5?
Do you want to know? I was
wanna
forced to go to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I despised sitting there listening. So while I was listening, I used to draw every Sunday. And I drew wedding dresses.
Wow.
So it just inspired me. And as I was drawing, the creativity flowed. Yeah. And ironically, the first freelance job I got was designing a wedding dress, but it was actually designing a wedding dress for it was like a more like sort of Morticia Adams style, gothic black wedding dress. And so, I mean, that was not on the agenda, but, I did it for a company in New Zealand who was doing gothic clothing, and I was representing them. And that was the first gig I got. And I thought, God, isn't that funny that it's come full circle, but it's not white, it's black. But anyway, really normal life. Grew up in Melbourne. Lovely. I think I was also born to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I literally had my first business at 14.
Wow.
With my best friend, and it's a funny story, we actually sold hand-painted pots. We did them all one Christmas holidays and then went to Camberwell Market to sell them. The first week it was an absolute flop, and the girls next door to us sold secondhand clothes, and I realized there was money to be made in secondhand cloths. And from year 10 and year 11, my best friend and I both had every Sunday at Camberwell Market a secondhand clothing business. And we used to literally catch a tram every Saturday morning and buy clothes from garage sales and deceased estates and all sorts of bits and pieces. And then every Sunday. My mum was an amazing woman and took me every Sunday to Camberwell Market at 4 a.m. because you had to line up for a stall then.
Yep, I remember.
And one of us would be lining up while one was setting up. And we did that for years.
Amazing. So you've had all of the creativity streaming in, and then you've had this experience with the commercial side. As you said, you've had the entrepreneurship in your blood as well as the creativity. What a great combo, because not every business owner has that. So an amazing grounding. So did you ever work for anybody else? Did you study fashion?
I did. So interestingly enough, I actually, when I finished school, I only wanted to do two things, which was fashion or actually apply for two courses. Sorry, it was fashion at RMIT or go to Box Hill to get a folio to get into fashion at RMIT. Sadly, I was actually knocked back 3 years in a row and I just persisted. So, we know that passion and persistence is the key to business anyway. And I ended up working for years for a fashion agency. So my background really from the adult life, I guess, was being in fashion wholesale. And I looked after 3 states, so Tasmania, Victoria, and South Australia. And I represented probably 17 labels, and they were very varied, from children's wear to women's wear, from low end to higher end. I wouldn't say high end, but a middle to high end. Mm-hmm. That really, that taught me a lot, because for 7 years I saw how you had to build a label and how you had to have that relationship with the customer. And in this case, it's the retailer, not the consumer. Yeah. So my background was really wholesale fashion, and I did that for many years.
I can relate to the diversity. As you said, you had 17 labels, different categories, different positioning in the market. Yeah. And I know for me, I had a similar background. I worked across retail buying. I was in wholesale. I had my own business. I was training, teaching. Yep. And I think when you've had a lot of diversity in the industry, it gives you this superpower of being able to calibrate to different, whether it's different opportunities or different markets or, different commercial perspectives in business. So
definitely. It's just not that focus on design or just marketing and I still, I'm sure, Elizabeth, you do too. I actually still wear most of those hats because, we're still a small business and I want to be across it. I know that it's important that my brand is actually about me and Rebecca Thompson. So therefore I want to be involved with it. But yes, I did that for a long time. But whilst I was doing that, I also had my very first fashion label, which was Swan and Thompson, which was done with my best friend, Chrissy Swan. And I was a plus size girl. So I, at this time, probably was a size 22. Mm-hmm. And we produced it here in Melbourne, which was something really hard. And also, as a young girl, I think I would have been only maybe 22, 23. I was now at this point full-time in fashion agency, studying at night at MIT. So I did do some textiles and merchandising. Because I sort of had worked for so long, I had a lot of holidays. So every Friday I took off and I worked for myself and did Swan and Thompson, which I sold and we produced just by ourselves.
Amazing. So when did that come to an end? So you started Rebecca Thompson in 2000, is that right?
I did, yep. It would have finished in God, this is talking
I
about
know.
Going back in my brain. I'm going to say 1996.
Yeah,
I think. So we did it for 2 years and it was incredibly difficult, I have to say, for a number of reasons. Plus size wasn't really given the tick of approval. Yep. Retail were not, I find it so amusing now looking back at retail. They were petrified to stock size 14 plus. They didn't think that anyone would spend money that was a plus size. I mean, you could keep going on and on. But at this sort of time, I was like 24. I was creating a label that was for me and my best friend. And we knew there were more people that were like, or women that were like us. We also had the money. It was just that we couldn't find the correct stockist.
Wow, how times have changed.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
Let's talk about Rebecca Thompson today. So you launched in 2000. Let's talk about, perhaps you can share your brand ethos and the values of the brand with us.
To be honest, it's all about confidence. I mean, I'm all about empowering women, and I know that's kind of an overrated saying nowadays, but just from someone that had grown up as a plus size girl, I just feel like it's important that we don't judge anyone, that we are servicing as many women that is interested in color and texture. I'm all about not mass production. I'm really keen on keeping the label very limited. And thankfully, the way that I set up the brand, not that I knew that what I was doing at 26, I have to say, but in hindsight, it has become a big tick to the brand that we can make literally one item, or we can make 12, we can make 24, or we can make hundreds. It's my choice. And for me, the ethos is I don't want everyone looking the same. I want it to be limited, and I want it to be special.
I love that.
And I want it to be reachable in price point too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've got full kind of linear control. Like you said, you can make as many or as little as you like. You can service a broad customer demographic. You've got that diversity. You're obviously very passionate about that. And as you said, you don't want to be, I guess, like everyone else out there. You've carved out your unique way, and that's definitely something that we've admired about your brand journey. You're doing things differently, which is much needed in our industry.
I think it is important because there's not a lot of places that are doing this anymore, because you can't. And I'm just lucky that I could or can.
We'll definitely dive into the how can you do it in a minute, because we'll talk about supply chain and how you've you know, kind of set up that whole vertical arm. But before we go there, let's talk about the unique aesthetic. So you've given us a little bit of an insight into the customer that you're catering for at the moment. So all inclusive. But let's talk about the unique aesthetic, because it is unique, it's fun, it's vibrant, it's, you know, it's a mood booster, let's say that.
It is. I literally want to go back to the time where I was like 10 and 12, where nothing was a problem and everything was fun. And I'm all about that sort of color retail therapy where you literally put on something and it brightens your day. I want it to... It's funny, I structurally even design with things surrounding your face. So like, I'm all about the embroidery. I'm all about the texturing. I want you to frame your face, and I want you to feel that it's lifting you. So when you put on that garment, you feel that you can see what it does to your face and that you feel good, so that when you walk out of the changing room, you can 100% see how people can smile and go, okay, I probably wouldn't have chosen this color. I love it. I didn't think it was me, but... So I'm all about the color and what it does to your face, your eyes, and all of that. Definitely, I'm obsessed with texturing. I'm absolutely fascinated by embroideries, which we do all in-house, shirring, smocking, any type of needlework or embroidery. I'm very interested in creating something that is not easily available.
I love that. I love that. You've got something very unique, and it's got that artisan element as well. So let's dive into behind the scenes. I really want to go into the creative process and development behind your beautiful brand. So let's talk about who's on the team. We know that it's very much a design-led brand. Let's go into the manufacturing. How does it all come to life, Rebecca?
Okay, so here in Melbourne, there's just 3 in our retail store, and we're very small. We're all about just knowing the product. On the side of India, there's 6 men And yes, they're all men. And believe it or not, it sounds so strange now, but these 6 men have been with me since 2000, every one of them. And it's funny because we're pretty much all the same age. So they really understand what is necessary. They've seen what I will accept, what I won't accept, how I need it to be finished beautifully. We do a lot of French seams. So same pattern maker has been with me for the whole 23 years, same tailors, same finishers. And that's literally the team. I have a manager who manages everybody. And actually, really, I would say now, because my time in India is so limited, I literally spend probably 11, 12 days there. At the moment, currently, twice or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's his job to, I will let him know what I'm think I'm looking for before I arrive. He will basically break down and find out where the top 3 places are for the type of silk, the type of ikat wovens, whatever it may be that I'm looking for, because time is precious and I haven't got a lot of it. And so therefore we can quickly go through. I'm very fast at making decisions. Once I see it, I'm very gut instinct in every way with my business and even my design. If I see it and I know I love it, that's it, it's mine. So, and now it's funny because pre-COVID we were making our own prints, but I realized that financially, if I didn't create my own prints, I could save a lot of money for the consumer. So now I'm actually taking available prints, but I'm adding my embroidery to it or my texturing, or putting 2 prints together and making it my own by patching, so that it's not available everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So let's backtrack a little bit. So before you arrive in India, so that's amazing. Firstly, that you've got the same 6.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Working for you from that is pretty unique. So that there's unique elements of your business. You've got 3 in the store, and we'll circle back to your store in Melbourne shortly. But with India, so before you arrive on the ground in India, and you shared with me before we started to record that this was your 74th trip to India recently. So you're no rookie here. You've been over a few times. And
a little bit sad for counting too, by the way.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I think that's definitely something to be kept on the scoreboard. So when you're going, so before you go to India, for example, are you briefing in mood boards and tech packs and inspiration?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Elizabeth, I used to do a lot of that sort of sketching, designing boards. Literally now because we pretty much run with a lot of the same patterns and bodies. We're just changing sleeves, texturing, necklines. It's more a mathematical equation for me now. And it becomes like I will have ideas of what I think I'm going to do. And look, they can go out the window in day 2. I can literally go, it's not working. Like, we started a project the day that I arrived, or we sort of started it before I arrived to India. I got there, day 1, it was a disaster. This fabric I was looking for, it just wasn't working. By day 3, I just said, we need to abort this. I'm wasting too much time. And I'm interesting enough, what I've just created is what we're selling now. So I'm working on summer, and I don't mean next summer, I mean now summer, because I work literally 3 months in advance, a month in advance, 2 months. So the first lot of production is on the machines, but it will be here in 2 weeks. I work that close to the day.
So let's share how you can do that. I think because that's a very interesting point and something that's well sought after, because most fashion brands are working a year in advance, as we know. That's the typical calendar. There's lots of variables to that depending on the business model. But how are you able to do that? Is that because do you employ the 6 men in India full-time for your label and you've got full autonomy?
Yes, that is why.
So that's the answer.
The answer is it is mine. And so therefore what I do outsource and let other people use it. We work with a company in Italy and a company in Greece while it's winter here in Australia.
Yep.
I let them use the space. It's all run through me so that knowing that summer is my biggest and best season, I just decided that I would sell off some of my designs to Greece.
Mm-hmm.
I would have an Italian buyer who was working in small quantities with silk velvet. We were very au fait with working with that fabric. We knew how beautifully to finish it. They were looking for small quantities. So depending on people that might come into our worlds, then we'd make, or I and the person that has the land with me that in India, we work together and decide how we would like to work or who we would like to work with. So I love
that. I love that you're repurposing your designs, because we'll circle back to the smaller quantities in a minute, but we know that, you know, the costs involved in R&D, so research and development, getting to the point of sampling, and then whether you're making one product or 1,000 of them, those R&D costs are pretty much the same in the lead up to pressing the button on bulk production. So obviously to get longevity out of your designs is a very valuable thing to be embarking on.
It is. And also, to be honest, I mean, we sell internationally anyway, but I feel like I'm not scared or confronted by other people having even their label on my garments. I know what I can do, and I'm fine with that. My main focus is actually keeping the 6 people in India employed. Yeah. And that is a byproduct of being a 26-year-old girl who didn't know what she was doing, starting a factory. And I wouldn't even call it a factory. I call it a workshop now because we're so small. But I'm a lucky girl. I just found the right person to work with who just is passionate about fashion in India. She doesn't need to work. We just have the best time working together.
Yep.
And she's older than me. And so therefore, it's just a beautiful dynamic. And her side is, as long as the workshop can cover the costs of what needs to happen, it's my job to keep that going. And I feel like I can do that. So that's how it works.
I think that's amazing. I mean, relationships are everything. You've obviously got a very strong relationship with a significant partner in India.
Yes.
And as you said, you know, you've got 6 people fully employed, and we talk about impact a lot now. You know, it's kind of the buzzword in fashion, but you've been making an impact for that 23 years. And if we just talk about the 6 people you're employing in India and then their families and the amplification of your label alone,
Elizabeth, if I tell you phenomenal. A story, it just makes my hair stand on end. My pattern maker has 3 boys. None of them they came from a village with no one speaking English. The eldest boy has just become a doctor. Wow. Now, who would have ever thought that because he was able to go to an English school and his son has now become something that's amazing, and it's a big deal in India. It's a massive deal. I mean, it's a massive deal here.
It is.
It's a massive deal. But yes, I am right time, right place, passionate, just found the right person, and I'm a lucky girl.
Love it. And very fulfilling to be able to do that. Big responsibility, obviously, that you've got. Keep that all ticking along. But how fulfilling, as you said, you know, when you see someone like that who's, you know, becoming a doctor, and that's been influenced by everything that you've done and kept going over the years. Amazing. So congratulations to you and everyone involved. That is just phenomenal. I just want to circle back to the fabrics. I think it was an important point that you mentioned, that you used to do your own unique fabrics. Yes. So you used to design them, and they were exclusive Rebecca Thompson designs. Yes. Now you're using available. So when you say you're using available prints, so is this available stock fabric that you are buying? Okay. Yeah. So there's also, I guess, a, reducing impact element there as well, because you're using stock or available fabric rather than creating more from scratch. So that sounds like that's working very well for you when you add the embellishments. And again, it's very unique. You're taking something and then you're making it your own.
Absolutely. And it's amazing, you know, print with embroidery on top can just absolutely change something, texturing it, shirring it, pleating it. You can change and let's just be honest here. We're not really recreating the wheel. Like there's most things have already exist in the fashion space.
Yep.
It's just how do you put your thing on it to make it your own. So, I mean, obviously fabric is important to me. I will not take it has to be up to a certain level. You know, the silk has to be amazing. It needs to not be sheer. It needs to be soft to the touch. I'm very into longevity. I don't want also someone to buy a garment that's not going to last. I expect it to last at least 10 years. I have pieces that I bring out all the time that are from my first season.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you've still got obviously your standards in place, but where you can find something that's readily available, then it's, you know, it's obviously an option. So do you go to the fabric markets in India?
I do.
Or does your team also select and curate for you? Is it a bit of both? Or?
Both, absolutely both. Obviously, over a period of time, we've got lots of good relationships with mills.
Yeah.
You're still talking about small quantity. So you do have that issue. And sometimes I just have to buy for maybe the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So there's fabrics that we constantly run, like a cotton poplin that's all milled. And, you know, we want a mill dyed finish. We want it to have a satin mercerized softness to it. So there's things like that. The investment is quite large.
Yeah.
You know, silk crepe de chine is so crazy price at the moment, but it's got to be rich. It's got to be beautiful. And what you're buying has to be amazing. I don't want it to, it's not just something that looks nice on a coat hanger. It's got to look amazing on the body. It's got to drape, and proportions is very important to me as well. I want it to fit most. So yes, not all styles fit everybody, but if you like my color and you like my aesthetic, then hopefully we can find you something that you will feel amazing in and, you know, wear because it feels beautiful on your body.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. In terms of the fabric, I think that's an important message just for those that are tuning in, because often, you know, as fashion brands and designers can become quite adamant that they want something original. So they want their original print or their original, you know, aesthetic, trim, whatever it might be, to be, you know, absolutely part of the DNA of their brand. But you've proved that by utilizing stock fabrics and, again, making them your own, we can essentially reduce the amount of production from scratch that we need to implement in our businesses. So it can be a balance of both, but you're still going to get an amazing outcome, as you said, because you've got your standards and your criteria in place that you're not going to waver from to ensure that everything that you have in your collection is very much on brand for Rebecca Thompson.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just, it has to be, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah. So let's talk about the customer. So you've talked about, you know, the variety of products that you're ranging, and some of them are only in limited quantities. What size are you going up to? And so who is the Rebecca Thompson customer? Why is she coming to you?
Okay, so initially, and I guess this is probably the timing when I started the brand as well, we have added on, because I did sell internationally for a number of years. We start at a 0, which is equal to an Australian 8, and we go up to a size 5, which is equal to a size 18. I just found that is the market that I can work in and sustain business. So, and let's face it, there's no use not being able to sustain a business by offering something that's not going to make money and survive. And I do think about it now, we actually have size 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's probably the most annoying sizing, but it's too late to go backwards now. And we do have to explain it and educate our customers. But a 0 is an 8, and 1 is a 10, and it goes onwards like that. Customer originally I thought was myself, but it's actually not. It's a little bit of an older, mature market. I would say probably 55 to 75. A person that does know themselves, but is looking for garments well made, not going to pay something that they're going to see someone else in when they go to that luncheon. that's a major for
Mhm.
me, because our price pointing is also around $199 for a dress, up to probably, I mean, maybe once a season we might do a $585 dress, but
Yep.
generally it's sort of more like $189 and probably topped at like $300. I don't want it to be something that you have to kill yourself to buy.
Mhm.
I really don't. And so the woman that buys from me is definitely someone who knows that they're going to buy quality, that they feel very confident in that garment. And I have this amazing little, I don't even know how it happens, but I thank you out there, spirits guys. Once you wear one of my pieces, often people that surround the person that's wearing it gives you a number of compliments, which then boosts the way you feel about it, and therefore they just keep coming back. So I have a very high level of return customer and loyal customer.
Yeah,
Really high.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you're finely tuned to who your customer is and what motivates them to buy. And of course, you have your amazing flagship store in Melbourne. So you're there at the coalface.
Yeah.
Seeing your customers and being able to interact with them. And of course, you've got your beautiful team as well. So let's talk about the sales and marketing strategies in your business.
Yep.
Brick and mortar, let's talk about that. How is it going? Obviously, we had, the challenges through COVID where physical stores had to close down, and the majority of our industry were scrambling to get online if they weren't online already. You've got your flagship store, you've got online, you were successfully wholesaling for many years. There's been a little bit of a change there. And then you mentioned international. So maybe let's go through each one of those channels and share, the experience and how it's going and what's the most significant channel for you at the moment.
Okay. So for me, definitely, if I go backwards, I'll go like this. We wholesaled for 13 years. Because that was my background. I was completely uninterested in opening a shop. Couldn't think of anything worse. Big mistake, but anyway, actually the best thing I ever did. But it was great getting a sense of who was buying my garments, and it led to me selling into America, Singapore, Indonesia. I sold to a number of stores overseas. And actually, talking about COVID, I was in the US selling to a number of stores in the US at the time when the GFC hit. So I'd already been through a smaller crisis, which really did affect my business. Thankfully, I found that Australia sort of didn't automatically fall the way that the US retailers fell. And the wholesale here was strong enough to keep us going, which was a really good practice for COVID, to be honest. But I'd also had done a lot of PR and marketing, probably from 2006 up to 2010. And because I had spent a lot of time and money in PR and marketing, I had already set up websites so that if international wanted to buy direct, it was available. And the same with it was that magazine time still. Regionals were still buying online. They were the first to change over. And actually, Australia really, for me, from an online perspective, even though I've had online probably, I would say 14 years, really did not understand it. My market did not understand online until COVID. 100%. Now that has completely changed. And definitely, I would probably say, it's so funny, Elizabeth, it can go up and down, but probably half, 50-50.
Yeah. That's amazing. Firstly, that you had online. Firstly, you had the infrastructure in place. So that's amazing. As you said, GFC, which made COVID, even though it was challenging, a lot less bumpy. I think those that hadn't been through the GFC, it was full crisis mode, unfortunately, because we build that resilience kind of muscle over time based on prior experience. So not great that, you went through both in business, but you've come out the other end. As you said, you had online for all that time, and it wasn't until COVID that your customers have now embraced it. So
absolutely. It was just such a strange thing that, the good things that come from this stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the silver linings for sure. So, and you've kept the physical. When did you open your store in Melbourne?
I've had the store in Melbourne 8 years. I actually opened it as a pop-up. It was a bit of I'd done a number of pop-up stores previous to this, but I always had a really amazing reaction with anything by the water, and Bayside definitely understood my colour palette. It was easy. Anywhere in Sydney, anywhere in Perth, anywhere that was around, or Queensland, they love my color. But Melbourne, we know that we love black. And I also knew from the past that, education was everything. And I knew my time would come at some point. I didn't know it was going to be COVID that would help color therapy go that way. But I opened the pop-up for 3 months, and I was very lucky that literally I painted the shop, even though I was only doing it as a pop-up. And the day that we opened, I just had all these people come because they knew the brand, and I just didn't expect that. And thankfully, there was just no way I was leaving. It just was a really quick, happy space. And my store has this insane energy. I don't even know how to explain it. Because I didn't grow up around Bayside at all. But that Brighton store is double fronted. The windows are insane. They're definitely, we change our mannequins nearly every day.
Wow.
They're our talking point. People have near miss accidents, which is probably not so great, but it is just a beautiful window. It's a beautiful shop. There's a great feeling in it. So we opened it 8 years ago. We open 6 days a week, and we have an amazing loyal trade. Without them, obviously we would not have a shop. But that store, there's something about that store. It's very magical in there, and it's like Disneyland for women. It's amazing. The only way I can explain it.
Very experiential.
It is.
So what would you say to anyone who's tuning in who's thinking of opening up a physical store at the moment?
Do you know what? That's a hard one. If you want to do it, I'm all up for. Risk taking is part of this industry. It's part of every industry. I definitely think you need to have all your ducks lined up. I guess it kind of depends on, are you doing your own product? You need to make sure you can stock it. Staff is always going to be a major. I'm very lucky that I've got 3 staff. One is actually a family member, so my cousin, who has been with me from day one, has been to India, has lived my life, so really knows that product. The other 2 girls have been fabulous, but, education in staff is super important. Why you did something, why we cut it this way, why it doesn't have pockets, because everybody wants pockets in everything. And I'm like, doesn't mean you can put pockets in. If there's proportions and tiers in dresses, it doesn't always work together, everybody. So, I think if you want to shop, look, it's hard work. There's no doubt about it, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I think it's just part of the business. I definitely don't. I know everyone's going online, but for my customer, they still generally love to feel and touch a fabric.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love that whole experience. And I guess that's what you've created. It really is. It's quite a welcoming environment, and you've got amazing staff who innately know the product and are passionate about the product. And so that whole, vibe or energy just flows through everything that you do, kind of the DNA of your brand in that physical format. So you said 50-50 with online and the store. And so wholesale, I know that wholesale, you kind of press the pause button. Is that still on pause?
So I pressed pause on wholesale pretty much when I opened the store. I actually had to make a decision about, how I was going to build the brand and how I wanted it to move forward. And I decided that I guess I wanted to take over it and look after it from the control perspective and be in full control.
Yep.
So look, I never say never where I will stop. We are wholesaling my Sleep by Rebecca Thompson collection, which was a COVID pivot, if you want to call it that.
Sure
we had a number of women who kept coming to click and collect, telling me that they didn't like the way they looked in their pajamas when the courier knocked on the door for online deliveries. And so I decided that I would design, we'd already sort of been touching, a bit of sleepwear, but I knew the fabrics were light and beautiful and I could get amazing prints. And I knew that I can cut a great dress and pajama. So, it just kind of made sense. So we started wholesaling that probably, 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's been good. But look, it's not my major focus. It's just something else that I wanted to do. And I also wanted to start something new. I realized I have a passion for fashion, but I really have a passion for business.
Yeah.
And I love building a new thing. So it's just something else I'm working on.
Love it. And international? So you mentioned international earlier. Is that still going?
From the perspective of right now, from a marketing perspective, I feel like the way to look at international is from online perspective only. I'm not really prepared to spend lots of dollars and go and set something else up agency-wise, PR-wise. But I can do it at a nice cost here in Australia from the online perspective using social media.
Yeah.
And that has definitely changed our whole ethos of, how we work and sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, we sold our pajamas last week to Paris. It's amazing. Not like it's not going places. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, are we an Australian label or an international label? It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And it makes me very happy to see. I can see, that people that I sold to in America are still ordering, which makes me super happy because feels like it was 2009, 2010, when we were selling there. So, but, never say never. I keep saying to my partner, oh, maybe I should do, and he's like, really?
Well, I guess it's a lever that you can pull when you're ready. I love that you've got, again, that diversity and variety of opportunity. As I said, you love the entrepreneurial side, the business side. You've got the wholesale going with the pajamas, and you've got this amazing in-store experience. You've got online that's firing over the last few years. So there's a lot going on. Let's talk about the marketing side of things. So you mentioned you had invested years ago in PR. So you had a solid investment there to build up this beautiful momentum for your brand. What about recently? We love your social media. We love your styling videos. Like they're really, like your content's very entertaining and engaging. It definitely gets people noticing and engaged, get people kind of stopping. And even on my team, it's like, oh, have you seen this latest post?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's got the entertainment value. So let's share that with our audience. So what are you doing around marketing right now?
I don't really want to be non-authentic. I want to be authentic. So we've got to be ourselves. I definitely spending, I would say, 85% of our time doing social media. We are working on something else at the moment where we are going to do an in-store type of, YouTube show, which we will put out probably next year. I'm just working on that. I just find people that come to the store so interesting. So from a marketing perspective, a little bit of a vox pop type of feel in the store. I just think it would be really interesting to interview the people that come into my store. Why are they there? What are they looking for? What are they buying? I think it's interesting for the consumer, and I find it fabulous. Yeah. But definitely most of the channel, Instagram is where it's at for us, 100%. Yeah. Like I look at the figures and I'm like, okay, I can see that is where we're spending most of our time. Currently, we are not putting any ads on or anything like that. We are only doing free content. And I think the styling videos are definitely what people want to notice because they're so interested in, I want people to know that there's value for money, so that you can wear that dress this way with this belt, but you can add it with a sneaker, and you can do this and do that. And I think that's the only way to send out that information and educate people, particularly if they're buying online.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be engaging. As I said, you've got to get their attention for as long as you can. So you've stepped into the forefront because you're in some of these videos.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that? And I think I'd love to touch on for our audience, how important do you feel it is? And I know it's an individual choice across designers, but how important has it been for your brand, for you as the owner of this brand, to step into the forefront and be visible on social media?
Okay, so originally I actually had a beautiful girl called Susie Stevens, who is magic, who came from an acting background. I couldn't even be there. She's actually left us to go and make TikTok videos for real full time, which I love. But she worked for us for 7 years, and she definitely introduced me to the camera and the whole concept of making posts and stories and all these sort of bits and pieces, and definitely is still part of our team. You can see we often do once a month. She'll come in, we make a number of video clips on styling or how to wear or whatever it may be. That actually took the pressure off me for a long time of putting myself at the front of the actual camera, which was great. And it gave me a bit of a rest. Also, I've got a 13-year-old, nearly 13-year-old. So it gave me time to just be also not so in front of everyone else in the brand. She sort of took that over. But now I realize that's what people want to identify with. They want to see me. And definitely those posts are probably one of the strongest posts that we have content-wise with the numbers. I probably need to do a bit more. I get sidetracked with other bits and pieces, and I have a reminder every Monday to make a video, and I go, oh yeah, I'll do that later. But we definitely post every day. Like I always ask the girls to do outfit of the day. So there's a lot of content that is coming out. I'm also very conscious of boring people. So I don't want it to be a sales pitch. I want it to be entertaining. And so it's got to be, the story's got to be worth it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely entertaining. I'll give you that news, because we
entertaining good or entertaining bad?
No, it's entertaining good. It's entertaining good. So I really encourage our listeners to tune in to your social.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, and have a bit of fun. That's for sure. And I noticed that you're also doing pre-orders. Are they why did you introduce pre-orders, and how important are they to the business? How do customers resonate with that opportunity to?
It's definitely a winner for us, because we do such small quantities. I mean, sometimes, like Elizabeth, generally we are cutting between 2 to 4 per size.
Yeah,
it is tiny.
Yeah,
so a lot of the time people are missing out on their size.
Yeah,
there is definitely that little bit of magic, that what you want, what you can't have.
Yeah.
So why would you miss out?
Yep, true.
Pre-order absolutely has brought that to the front, where you don't need to miss out. And because, like I said before, I'm pretty standard with the way that I cut and make garments. And from the perspective of also, if you don't know your size, or you've got a bigger bust and a smaller waist, we are so hands-on with answering all these messages on social media. We can advise straight away what size you would need to get. Our returns policy is super easy. There's no questions asked. I will give you your money back, even if you just go, I just don't want it. Like, that's fine. So why wouldn't you pre-order, so that you don't miss out?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Like you said, if you want something unique, then you've got to commit, at the beginning of the journey. And as you said, it's something that is in limited edition. So firstly, you don't want to miss out, and you want something that's quite unique, that's not going to be, on someone else at every party you go to.
Exactly.
Then it's certainly, a great thing to buy into.
Yeah.
With your social media and everything you've done organically, I think that is, it's a huge testament, firstly, to the DNA of the brand, because there's not many brands out there at the moment that would be saying we're not actually throwing a lot of money at digital marketing. So, the Facebook advertising and the influencers and the whole gamut. So That again, that authenticity and that connection with customer seems like it is very, very strong, which is amazing. That's the gold that every business wants. So definitely keep that going.
Definitely.
Now, let's just touch on the retail sector, because you are there at the forefront of retail in the store. We know that there's been significant shifts in recent years. So in your opinion, what are the most noteworthy changes or trends that you have observed in the retail industry?
I definitely can see economically that people are much more conscious of their spending. I can definitely see, I mean, I work in the store Monday and Friday, and there's a reason why I'm in the shop. It's to listen to what the consumer wants. So we definitely want an outfit. If we're going to spend money, we want to make sure that we're not going to wear it once. There's a definite change from colour. So we were, particularly in Melbourne, we were definitely all black and navy, grey, and blush was a colour which is no-go for me. But because I'm all about, you know, how about hot pink, you know? But I can see that the consumer has now started to realise how good colour makes them feel. What else do I notice? It's definitely a conscious spend, definitely, you know, and I don't think that's going to change. I think this is it. So for me, I have to make a product that fits all my bills in regards to quality and fit and look, but it also has to fit an approachable and okay price point. It's got to be a price point that is not going to stretch you.
Yeah. So it's a conscious spend, so a conscious investment. So looking for quality, an investment piece, something different, something that not everybody has. What about the whole sustainability piece? Are your customers interested in where the product comes from, how it's manufactured?
That's also gone in peaks and I think, you know, the 7-year cycles. It's so interesting. When I first started, there was such a backlash about the fact that I worked out of India. It was so insane. I felt like for the first 7 years, I had to explain to people that just because I was made in India didn't mean that it was terrible or bad finish. And I literally spent 7 years going, okay, well, why don't you just try it? And then you'll realize, and this is from the wholesale perspective as well. Then it became just accepted. Now I feel our customer is definitely aware of they're more interested in the natural fibers. I do feel that I have to explain that rayon is not a bad or dirty word, which is interesting. But now saying that, I have spent just that last 12 days doing a lot of silk and cotton. That's just because that's what I found that I loved. And you know, if I found something else, I mean, I'm not working with synthetic fibers, but it kind of just sort of works. Our customers definitely are interested in where we're making, but a lot of them now it's so in tune with the fact that I am in India with the 6 men that I have had. They kind of know what's happening. So they're very aware of the make of the garment and how it's not in any way. I mean, I work with Brotherhood of St. Lawrence, so there's no way that I'm doing anything wrong here, you know, like I'm only worried about making sure everyone's on the right page and we're doing all the right things.
I think that transparency is key, and I think that certainly shows through with everything that you share, you know, on your website about your whole process, not just the supply chain, but how your beautiful garments come to life. So, but it's interesting to hear, you know, what customers are perhaps entering into conversation around. But I totally agree about the conscious spend and definitely the conscious investment. Like I know personally for me, and it might be a stage of life, but it is all about those investment pieces. It's not about having, you know, 20 dresses. It's about having 1 or 2 really good ones that will be in your wardrobe for the long term. So I can definitely see that all of the data is showing us that the consumer mindset is shifted.
I think it's fine. I think that's okay. I mean, sure, I'd love you to buy a dress every week. But the truth of the matter is you only have so much budget to spend. That dress needs to make you feel amazing and it should last. Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's the key, the longevity for sure. Yep. That's conscious fashion when a piece has longevity. Now let's switch channels and talk about you for a minute.
Okay, sure.
No doubt your role is dynamic and demanding. We've just heard that over the last little bit of our conversation. And you said you've got a 13-year-old. So you've got your family, you've got the business, and you've been doing this for a long time. So let's share with our audience the practices and the support systems and routines that you have in place that allow you to do this, keep your sanity, and work optimally, around your mindset and well-being.
Okay, well, I'm an early riser, so I rise around 5:36. I am trying to find focus at the moment. I've just started Buddhist chanting, if that means anything.
Love it.
Yep. I exercise now probably an hour a day. Yep. I have the weekends off. I love sleeping. So Saturday and Sunday, Saturday you usually have to do something with my son, but for sport, but Sunday is definitely don't talk to me, let me scroll on my Instagram and let me in bed, give me a cup of coffee and I'm super happy. The morning routine is literally, if I'm talking to India, because there's a lot of hours difference, I will answer the questions they've asked me the night before. So I usually in the morning will email in the morning to India or WhatsApp or whatever while they're sleeping, so they've got all the answers to start their day.
Yeah.
Meantime, we do social media posts. I'm posting most of the content, and then depending on the day, if it's Monday and Friday, I'm off to work. But during the week, it's either, getting new design ideas down, working on what we're going to put out as social media. It can be quite varied depending on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I do break up my day. I literally am sort of like, I get an hour to myself in the morning. I'm India woman for the next hour. I'm mum from like 7:30 till 8:30. From 8:30, I'm like the Uber driver. 10 o'clock till sort of 5:30, I'm shop girl or Rebecca Thompson fashion designer.
Yeah.
5:30 to 7:30 or 8:30, I'm mum again. Yeah. And then from 8:30 to about 11, I'm usually back talking to India.
Yeah, lots of different hats there, but all I heard was Buddhist chanting.
Well, I said,
that got my attention. I was listening to a podcast yesterday where they were actually talking about the chanting. Yeah. And again, it's just another form of meditation, I guess, but the vibration that it builds, the positive vibration it builds in your body. So yeah, that definitely got my ears tuning in. I'm like, but it makes sense, isn't it? Anything vibrational or melodical, kind of, it does change our disposition.
Definitely. I've got a tween teen and a boy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to focus.
Zen out. But I think what you said about kind of having that structure in your day, because you've got all of those different hats, but I love that you're at least carving out some you time for the exercise, for the chanting, as you said, obviously for your son as well, while you've also got various hats within the business, designer to being on the shop floor and everything in between. But I think important message for those tuning in, we always talk about this because this is a very, this is a reality of being in business, is that we're all very time poor. There's only so many hours in the day and never enough of them. So having that discipline to carve out time for ourselves is absolutely crucial because,
I'm habitual for that. I am actually a creature of habit. I'm very routine and I always have been. It's the only way I can really survive. I feel that I need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So, Rebecca, based on everything that you've achieved and experienced so far in your business over a long period of time, what key advice or words of wisdom would you have for brands out there who are looking to take their business to the next level?
If you haven't got passion, Elizabeth, you just game over.
Yeah.
I still love what I do more than anything else in the world. And I feel so, so lucky that I made this. I created this, and definitely there's no doubt you've got to be brutal, hardworking, persistent, passionate. I'm lucky I've got a really amazing partner, because I think if you don't have someone, just my mum and my partner were always just backing me up, saying you can do this, because you do doubt yourself, of course. But where is my happy place? My happy place is doing this. So I think, if this is what you're meant to do, like I actually talk to young people regularly and I think, oh my God, I'm going, really? You want to be a fashion designer? I'm like, mm. But the truth is, it's an amazing thing to create something and then sell it. That's amazing. It's amazing.
It
So
is.
I wouldn't change it for the world. Not my story. I feel super lucky.
Yeah. And I just think you've touched on something like really important there. It's about creating something and seeing it out in the world.
Yeah.
I know when I was a retail buyer, I was doing product development more than design, but I still created that collection from, the ground up and seeing it on people. I remember those early days, like the very first time I saw something that I designed and developed and sourced, it did the whole thing from end to end, and then you see it on someone walking down the street. It's like
that you don't know.
It's kind of no feeling like it, is it? It's just
nothing. I still get that butterfly thing where like I'll be sitting at the lights and someone will cross the road wearing one of my garments and I'm like, I made that. And I love it. I love it. There's nothing better. And that's what we're looking for, that real touch. Like, and also, I literally have touched every garment that we make.
Yeah. I love it. And I love that you touched on your support system as well. Again, none of us can do this alone. You've got an amazing support system. Yeah. And you mentioned you're speaking to young people. So are you doing some mentoring?
Look, there's a lot of mums that come in and say, I've got my daughter who wants to be a fashion designer, or, my cousin or this. I will talk to people. We did mentoring a little, but pre-COVID, I did a lot of high schools and would talk to kids because I came from that space also where I wasn't accepted into university. So I was like, okay, do you know what? Don't worry. But you have to believe in yourself and go forward and say, I can do this. So then COVID hit. So now lots of kids come in and talk to me and we're like, oh, what do we think I should do? And it's a different world. And so I'm not really sure if I'm giving the right advice. All I can say to you is if this is what you want to do, then you can make it happen, but you've got to do it. And it's hard work.
Yeah. Sharing your experience, that's all you can do. And as you said, if it's meant for the person who's hearing that information, then it is. And as you said, without passion, if that passion is there, that burning desire to achieve something, I mean, really, we're living in a time now that, anything is possible. Absolutely. So it's amazing that you're sharing that knowledge because it's absolutely invaluable for someone who's, interested in embarking on this journey. Because it is dynamic, but it's not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
It isn't.
Now, in closing, Rebecca, finally in closing, we'd love to hear what excites you most about the future of the fashion industry.
That's a good question. Well, I was sitting there while I was in India thinking about longevity, and I was thinking, will I ever retire? And can I ever retire? And we were talking, the whole workshop and I were talking about bits and pieces. But look, going forward, I'm thinking bedazzled walking sticks. I'm like, how can I make my world still more colorful as I grow older gracefully? But I don't know. Look, I'm just excited. Look, there's no interest. I'm not interested in opening a multiple number of stores. I'm super happy and content. I'm not greedy. I just want to make a store that is a happy place that offers happy product. And I am content as long as I am making a lovely living and doing what I wanted to do, which is make beautiful garments for beautiful women. We're at the end. Like that. I'm quite happy as long as it keeps going forward like that. I understand that the world will keep going up and down and you can't stop that. So I'm just here, I don't think inside the square. I've been thinking outside the square for a million years, I don't even know now what it is. It's a sphere, it's a circle. What is it? We just have to keep thinking differently. So, I'll just, as long as Rebecca Thompson continues, I have no interest in really making it bigger or just just keep a lovely, strong brand, maybe more international online. That would be good. But generally, I'm a happy chappy, like this is where I want to be. This is exactly what I wanted to do.
What a beautiful message to end on. You sound very happy and very fulfilled. And that is a unique position to be in our industry. So you've obviously done something right over all of the years, Rebecca. It's been an absolute delight to finally get to talk to you today.
Thank you. Thanks
Can't
for
wait
having
to
me.
come visit you in the store in
Please
person.
Do. I'd love
and
to
get my hands on one of your beautiful pieces. So
that would be amazing.
And I encourage our audience to do that as well. If you're not in Melbourne, then jump online. But if you're in Melbourne, definitely have to go and experience the beautiful store in Bay Street, Brighton.
Please do.
So thank you again. You've been so generous with your time and knowledge. And we'll be watching this space. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast. We'd love to keep connected. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Fashion Equipped. Head to our website, fashionequipped.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share this podcast with others, hit subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Let's do this together. Let's make the fashion business your business.
This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.